Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thanks for coming back for another true crime video. Today we are talking about Chris and Shanann Watts. So this is a pretty current case that's happening right now. This video is going to do a quick overview of the case, what happened the day that Shanann and her two daughters, Bella and Celeste, went missing. And then we're going to talk about what's going on with the legal case, and we're going to also dissect a couple of Chris Watts interviews. I think it's really telling the way that somebody behaves in the moments and days following a crime. Let's just jump right in and get started. So Shanann Watts lived in Colorado with her husband Chris and her two daughters Bella and Celeste. Bella was 4 and Celeste was 3. Shanann was also 15 weeks pregnant with a little boy that they were going to name Nico. She was really excited to be having a son since they already had 2 daughters. And she has said in videos that, Facebook videos that she's put out, because she was very active on social media. So she said in these Facebook videos that Chris was really wanting a little boy, that he wanted a son. So she was happy to give him one. And she was excited for Bella and Celeste to become big sisters. She really thought that they were going to love Nico and have a really good time with him. And she was excited to see her little family grow.
Guess what, girls? Mommy has a baby in her belly. Are you guys excited? Yeah. Yes? Are you really excited? Oh my goodness. Come give me hugs. Oh! Oh. I love you, girls.
I got the baby a hug.
You want to give the baby a hug? I love you, Bella. You're so sweet. Give me a kiss.
Mommy! Mommy!
Yes.
Unfortunately, Shanann, Bella, and Celeste would never meet little Nico because all 4 of their lives were ended tragically and pointlessly. At the time of her death, Shanann was working for a company called Lavelle. Lavelle's best known for their health and wellness kind of supplements and shakes and things, and those are called Thrive. So you probably have heard of it, or you probably know somebody who sells it, or you know somebody who's tried to get you to sell it. It's pretty common and pretty big out there. I know at least 2 or 3 people in the past couple of years have approached me trying to get me interested in it, but I was a big Shakeology girl, so I wasn't interested. Lavelle is what they call an MLM, or a multi-level marketing company. If it makes it easier, we can call it a pyramid scheme, and that's pretty much what it is. And it's not necessarily a scheme, because I know people do make money off of it. I know people are very successful in it. Shanann was allegedly one of them, but just imagine, you know, a pyramid, and one person is here at the top. And then they have their downline, right? So the people that they bring on to also sell and push and advertise and market this product, the people underneath them on their downline, that person at the top of the pyramid is going to get a percentage of their sales. I know people can be successful in an MLM, but it's usually that top of the pyramid person, and so not everybody is going to be, but it's possible. I spent a little bit of time talking about that because Lavelle and Thrive were an important part of Shanann's life. She used to work in HR in like a children's hospital, and then obviously, you know, she had the girls and she became a full-time stay-at-home mom, and I think she wanted something else to do besides just being a stay-at-home mom. Not that being a stay-at-home mom is A, easy, or B, insignificant, because it is neither of those things, but as somebody who does stay at home with my little girl, you know, the majority of the time, it can become kind of mundane, and you need something to get you out there talking to people. You need something to spark your creativity, hence, for me, YouTube, but you need something else to kind of define yourself as something other than somebody's mother. It's not a bad thing. It doesn't make her a bad mother. It doesn't make her negligent. It doesn't make her selfish. It just makes her human. See, we never judge men for wanting to be something other than fathers. But when a woman wants to do something outside of the house, or wants to do something part-time to like increase her income, or to just use the skills that she has and she has to offer to the world, people can get kind of judgy. So on August 10th, Shanann left Bella and Celeste with their father, and she went on a business trip to Phoenix with a friend, and the business trip was for Lavelle, the company. She arrived back home on the 13th of August. Her friend dropped her off at the house about 2 a.m. She went inside, and that is the last time that she was ever seen alive by anybody besides her husband, Chris Watts. So Shanann was described as having a really strict routine. And once again, as somebody who is home the majority of the time with a young child, you really have to have a strict routine that you follow or you'll go crazy. You'll lose your mind. You know, you have to know exactly what's going to happen next in order to kind of keep sane and know what to expect throughout the day. So she had a very, very strict routine. Apparently her little boy Nico, he had an irregular heartbeat. So the day after she got dropped home, or the morning of, because she got home pretty early in the morning of August 13th, she had a doctor's appointment that morning at 10 a.m. just to check on the heartbeat of Nico, and she did not show up to that doctor's appointment. And her friends were calling her and trying to reach out to her, and she wasn't responding, and at some point I guess her phone went off, and her friends kind of thought that was weird, and not even just weird, but it was definitely like something wasn't right. Shanann being involved in social media so much was part of her job. So for her to not have her phone, to not be answering it, for it to not be on at all, struck all her friends who knew her and knew what she did for a living as extremely odd. Something was wrong, something was off. She would always have her phone on her. She would always be posting on Instagram and Facebook and all of that stuff. That was just part of the gig. That's part of the gig when you do something like that. You have to push it on social media and you have to be always on, you know, people's feeds so that they remember who you are and what you're selling. So she was. So one of her friends, Nicole, because Nicole wasn't being able to get a hold of Shanann, she got worried and she drove to Shanann's house and knocked on the door and nobody answered. But she did notice that Shanann's car was in the garage and that Bella and Celeste's car seats were also in that car. Shanann hadn't really taken them anywhere because unless they went for a walk or something, you know, they weren't going anywhere without a car and car seats. At that point, I guess because they had a doorbell cam, Chris Watts, who was at work, he kind of asked Nicole, like, what's up, you know, over the doorbell cam. And she said, your wife's not answering the door. She's not answering her phone. Something's wrong. And he, at that point, I guess, told her she took the girls on a play date. You know, don't worry. She told me she was taking them on a play date. Don't worry. But I guess that didn't sit right with Nicole, and maybe she kind of just thought that his response was a little kind of not as panicked or worried as he should have been about his 2 young daughters and his pregnant wife. So she did call the police and report Shanann and her girls missing. Officer Coonrod arrives at the Watts household and also tries to ring the doorbell, knock on the door, see if anybody's gonna answer. When he gets no response, he calls Chris Watts and says, you know, we're here to do a welfare check on your family. I really need to get in. I noticed that there's a garage, like, keypad on the garage. So, you know, when you wanna get into your house, but you don't have a key or you just wanna go in the garage, you can put in your 4-digit code and the garage will open. So he basically asked Chris Watts, can I have the code to that keypad so I can get in, check on your family? And Chris said, oh, that keypad, it doesn't work, but I'm on my way home and I'll be there in 5 minutes. Once Chris gets there and both he and Officer Coonrod get into the house, they obviously notice that Shanann, Bella, and Celeste are not in the house. They also notice that Shanann's purse is there, her cell phone is there, the girls' medicine is there, everything that they would need to leave the house and do anything were there, including the car and the car seats, like I said. So now Officer Coonrod is suspicious of Chris, and he definitely thinks something's going on, so he asks Chris to explain to him the last time he saw his wife, what happened, you know, go over that. That's pretty common when a person is missing to ask their spouse or significant other, like, what happened the last time you saw her. So Chris tells Officer Coonrod that Shanann arrived home around approximately, he says, 2 a.m. And then he got up at 5 a.m. to go to work. And at that point, they had an emotional discussion about how Chris wanted to end the marriage. I think as soon as Officer Coonrod heard that there was marital discord or there was problems with the marriage, he immediately suspected Chris, maybe even before, because of course it's a common statistic that most people who go missing or, you know, anything bad that happens to somebody, it's usually somebody that they know, and it's 9 times out of 10 going to be, you know, the spouse or romantic interest or relationship in their life. So Officer Coonrod calls in Detective Baumhover. So Detective Baumhover comes in and he asks Chris the same question. Tell me about the last time you saw Shanann. And this is also common for police to do this, right? For 2 people to ask a person that they may be, you know, investigating or just a person they may be questioning the same question to see if they get any discrepancies or any kind of different answer from that person, because the truth doesn't deviate, right? It is what happened. If I got in my car, went to the store, got a gallon of milk, came home, and made a cup of coffee, that's the truth. So my story is not going to change too drastically from that series of events, because that is what happened. But somebody who's making something up or lying, they're not going to have such a good handle on their story, and their details may vary from retelling to retelling. And Chris's story did vary when he retold it to Detective Baumhover. So Chris tells the detective that Shanann arrived home at 1:48 a.m. When he told Officer Coonrad she arrived home, he said it was at 2 a.m. And now, at approximately 2 a.m., but now he has a more nailed down time, like 1:48 a.m., which is super specific. And I find that a lot of people, when they give you like super specific times and dates and like details like that, it's because they're lying. Because if my husband's on a business trip and he came home, unless I'm happening to be staring at a clock right when he walks in the house, I would not know what minute it was. I would just approximately know what time it was. He then tells the detective that he and Shanann had their emotional discussion at 4 a.m. and that is when he told her he wanted a divorce, he wanted to separate, it wasn't working, and they both cried and were upset. So his story obviously did change, and it may seem like small details of where the story changed, but it's very important when you're talking about a pregnant woman and 2 little girls missing, and you want to figure out what's happening. He told Officer Coonrad that he woke up at 5 a.m. and then they had the discussion and then he went to work. But he told the detective that they had their discussion at 4 a.m. So that would have been an hour before he even woke up to go to work. It's just little things like that they'll look to see what changes. And obviously that probably threw up a red flag for them. So at first, Chris Watts, he played the distraught husband. He gave television interviews. I believe the cops set up these interviews because it was like 3 separate interviews done the same day. And I feel like typically that's not how it works. I think usually they just bring in the press all at once and they kind of ask him questions, and then each organization goes back and edits and does whatever they can with the footage that they have. But these were 3 separate interviews at 3 separate times that day. So I almost feel like they wanted to put him under pressure, see what he would do. Also, once again, see if his retelling would change from person to person to person. And once again, it did. And at this point, nobody knew that he was involved in his wife and his daughter's deaths. Nobody even knew they were dead. Nobody knew where they were. I think now it's a lot easier to look at the interviews and say like, oh, right there, that's where he's acting weird, or right there, he says something that doesn't make sense. But I don't think at the time your average person just watching TV would have thought that. They probably just thought like, oh, poor guy, he doesn't know where his wife and kids are. But I definitely think the police were looking for indications in those interviews of deceit. Then the behind the closed doors story of Chris and Shanann kind of came to light. Allegedly, they were in quite a bit of debt, or at least they were a few years back when they had declared Chapter 7 bankruptcy. They looked like they had the perfect life. They lived in a beautiful, over 4,000 square foot home. It was like a $400,000 house. They had 2 gorgeous little girls. They seemed to love each other very much. Like I said, Shanann was super active on social media. So not only was she pushing her Thrive products, but she was also constantly talking about how much she loved her life, how much she loved her husband, how grateful she was for her daughters. And, to be pregnant now with another child, she was always pushing out this perfect image of the life they had. And clearly they didn't, right? But I know a lot of people, there's actually an entire YouTube channel devoted to playing these videos from Shanann's Facebook Live and things like that to make her look bad, to make her look like a mother who wasn't present, a mother who was always talking to the camera. And it makes me sick. I can't stand it because there's all these comments. They're horrendous. These comments on this Facebook page are like, oh, pay attention to your kids. Stop, talking to the camera. Like, guys, this is what she does for a living. This is how she makes money. Why is it a thing to attack the victim? Why is it a thing to try to find what the victim did to deserve what happened to her. Chris and Shanann declared bankruptcy in June 2015, and they were really in debt. Like, the exact figure was $448,000 worth of debt at the time. It also looked like they owed almost $2,000 to their homeowners association. I think the homeowners association was like taking them to court the next month. Actually, it wasn't good. On August 15th, Chris Watts was arrested and charged with 3 counts of first-degree murder for his wife Shanann, his daughter Celeste, and his daughter Bella. Shanann's body was then found and discovered in a shallow grave in a nearby oil field owned by Anadarko Petroleum, which had been Chris's employer. They did fire him the day he was arrested for the murders of his family. But at the time when the bodies were put there, Chris was employed there. Sometime after, Bella and Celeste, Chris and Shanann's 2 little adorable, beautiful, innocent baby girls, were also found dead, submerged in oil tanks near their mother's shallow grave. At that point, Chris admitted and, confessed to killing Shanann, but he told an entirely different story than anybody expected. He said that the night Shanann got home from her business trip, they had their emotional discussion or conversation about how he was, seeing somebody else, about how the marriage was over, it wasn't going anywhere, he just wasn't happy anymore. And she, to get back at him, I suppose, then went into their daughter's room and strangled both their daughters to death. Chris said he saw her strangling Celeste on the baby monitor, and then he saw Bella's body close by, blue, I suppose. He saw that the body was blue on the baby monitor, so that it indicated to him that Bella was already dead and she was strangling Celeste. So he ran upstairs, but too late. Celeste was gone, so he flew into a rage. His own words, he flew into a rage and he strangled his pregnant wife to death. And at that point, he then took all 3 bodies, put them in the back of his work truck, and drove them to the Anadarko oil fields to hide them or get rid of them or dispose of them or bury them or whatever you want to call it. So Chris is in custody at this point. He's set to go on trial next month for the murders of his wife and his daughters and his unborn son, Nico. I guess he is at this point in solitary confinement. So basically he's locked up in a cell alone for 23 hours. 1 hour a day he's allowed to go out and, make phone calls or just sit in this kind of like public room where he's not locked up in a cell. But pretty much 23 hours a day he's locked up. He's not really allowed to go outside. There's no exercise involved. He can't have any books or reading material. It's just him and his Bible and a picture of his family in his cell for him to look at 23 hours a day and hopefully suffer terribly as he looks at the faces of his beautiful, innocent daughters that he killed for absolutely no reason. Because come on, guys, Chris Watts killed these 2 little girls. There's no way Shanann Watts killed her daughters. He's on suicide watch as well, so they have to check on him, I guess, every 5 to 10 or 15 minutes to make sure he hasn't tried to kill himself or isn't going to try to kill himself, which I feel like they should just kind of close the door and let him do what he's got to do, because it would be a mercy for everybody if he ended it for himself. It would save the taxpayers a crap load of money having to not only house him in prison, but feed him in prison, and then now to have the trial, and people have to be pulled for jurors, and it's just a mess, and it's going to be a long, drawn-out process. It's going to cost a lot of money and make a lot of people waste a lot of time when we know that it was him who did it. So I don't know why they don't just let him end it for himself. So I guess the mystery of this whole case is why, right? Why did he kill his wife and his daughters when he could have just left? He could have just gotten a divorce. He could have just left. Well, here's my thoughts. I think that he's an incredibly selfish, narcissistic, sociopathic kind of person. I think he thinks only of himself. I believe that he knew getting a divorce would obviously be expensive. With 2 children and 1 on the way, an incredibly expensive house that I don't think they could afford. I think he wanted to avoid all the messiness that a divorce would entail. I think he wanted to make whatever was easiest on him happen. And that would be basically to just get rid of every sign of his old life so he could start fresh and he could start new and he could get a redo and a retry on his life. Because I honestly think he did not know what he was signing up for when he got into a relationship with Shanann. You know, it was like they got into a relationship and then it was marriage and then it was having kids and then they were buying a house and then they were having more kids and then it just became this white picket, really domestic kind of life that I don't think he was happy with. I don't think he ever wanted, and I don't think that he felt like he signed up for it. And believe me, I mean, there are days where, on my bad days, where I will be standing in the middle of like a messy kitchen with kids running around and screaming, and my hair's a mess and my back hurts and I feel like, when did this happen? Like, I did not sign up for this. This is not the life that I wanted. We all have those moments, right? Where we would much rather be anyplace else. But at the end of the day, we look at our kids asleep peacefully after, you know, a long day, and we've finally put them to bed and we can finally breathe, and we are thankful for what we have, and we know that we wouldn't want any other life. But I don't think Chris had that like revelation where he said, oh, you know, I love my kids, I love my wife, this is the life I have, and I just have to kind of, you know, deal with it. Like, I need to be thankful and grateful for this. He just was not happy. Shanann made his life better. I think he was kind of a loser before he met Shanann. He was out of shape. He didn't really have anything. He was just kind of a quiet guy. He didn't really have any close friends, and he's introverted, you know, whereas she's extroverted, and I think she brought him out of his shell. You can even see physically the way he transforms from this kind of like normal, like average Joe, kind of chubby, out of shape guy that would be just walking down the street, and he became like really buff, and his physical appearance improved a lot. And, you know, she gave him two beautiful children, two beautiful little girls who loved him completely. You can see in these videos how much Bella and Celeste love their father. Like, he is their hero. He is their world.
My daddy is a hero. He helps me grow up strong. He helped me snuggle too. He reads me books. He ties my shoes. If you're a hero, blue and blue, my daddy is love you.
I don't understand how he could look into their little faces who admired and adored him so much and end their lives. She gave him so much. She gave him a purpose. She gave him something to live for, and he just pretty much was like, well, you know, I look good now. I'm gonna have an affair with somebody from work, because he was having an affair with a girl from work, and you know, I don't want this anymore. And it's funny because he actually has a video on YouTube where, I don't know why, but he's giving like relationship advice, and he says something like, you know, sometimes you figure out like this relationship's not working and you meet somebody else and that's working better for you, so you should just like segue from the first relationship to the second relationship, you know, whatever's better for you. Like, he's selfish, he's crazy. That's not what a marriage is. A marriage doesn't always work. A marriage doesn't always feel like it's working. A marriage isn't always getting along or agreeing, but you make it work. You don't just find something that works better and take off. And God, Chris, I wish you had found something that worked better and took off, because Shanann and Bella and Celeste would have been so much better off without you. Shanann was going places with Lavelle and Thrive. She was very successful. She was doing really well. She was clearly enjoying it. She'd found her groove. She'd found her place that she belonged with, a community of people that accepted her and supported her. And I think he was kind of jealous of that. Like, I think that he envied that she'd found a reason and a motivation to live and be that didn't include him and the family. I think he envied her ability to do something that really dictated her to be this outgoing and extroverted and friendly person. And I don't think that he's like that, so he couldn't understand how she was doing it. And I think that he also maybe felt a little like his man card was being revoked, because he probably always felt like he was the one who had to provide for them, and he could kind of bank on that. Like, she needed him for that. But now she was making her own money, and she was also bringing in, you know, financial income to the house. So it took away some of his control over her for her to be now a financial provider as well. he maybe probably felt useless, maybe felt like, what's the point? Why am I here? You know, she seems fine without me. Let's watch some of his interviews really quick. Okay, so I believe this was his first interview that he gave.
What's going on right now around your house?
Right now it's, you got K9 units, the sheriff's department. Everybody's like, they're doing their best right now to figure out like if they can get a scent, see where they went. If they went on foot, they went in a car, or they went somewhere. And right now it's just like they've been on point. They're going through the house trying to get a scent, and hopefully they can pick something up to where it's going to lead to something.
What happened?
So I think it's funny because they clearly have like sniffer dogs in his house right now, and he's real nervous. Like you can tell he's holding himself like this, and he's rocking back and forth, super nervous. And every time the dogs bark, you can kind of see him like stiffen up and kind of like become a little bit more alert, and just kind of probably freak the fuck out, because he knows that he killed them, and he knows that he's pretending that he doesn't know where they are, and he doesn't want to get caught.
Your wife came home. Tell me what's...
She came home from the airport 2 a.m. and I left around 5:15. She was still here, and like about 12:10 in that afternoon, her friend Nicole showed up at the door. Like I had texted Shanann a few times that day, called her, say, you know, but she never got back to me, but she wasn't getting back to any of her people as well. And that's what really concerned a lot of people, is like, if she's not getting back to her, like if she doesn't get back to me, that's fine, like she gets busy during the day, but she didn't get back to her people, which was very concerning. And Nicole called me when she was at the door, and that's when I came home and then walked in the house, and nothing was vanished. Nothing was here. I mean, she wasn't here, the kids weren't here, nobody was here.
So he says, I walked in the house and just vanished. Nothing was here. And then he kind of like goes back like, no. I mean, you know, she wasn't here. No one was here. The kids weren't here. It's just so weird. It's not how you, like, no, it's not how you describe how your kids and wife are missing and you don't know what happened to them. Vanished, like, and he's stuttering so much. And his body language is just showing somebody who's not afraid, not terrified, not distraught, somebody who's nervous, somebody who's tightly wound, somebody who's kind of just waiting for the other shoe to drop.
What's your wife's name?
Shanann, Shanann.
What's your kids' name?
Bella and Celeste.
How do you spell Celeste?
Celeste.
And when they ask him, what's your kids' names, they zoom in on his face, which I think is really telling. I think that they know or suspect that he killed those girls. So they zoom in on his face when they ask what his kids' names are. And you can see in his eyes, like, there's definitely a, you know, some kind of emotion there he's trying to hide. So it was tough for him to say their names and like spell them.
How old are your daughters?
4, Bella's 4, Celeste is 3.
And so, how many times did you try calling her?
He's blinking a lot.
I called her 3 times, texted her about 3 times just to say, you know, what's going on. Like because after I called her and texted her once, it was like maybe she was just busy. Like she had just gotten back, you know, like everybody's probably calling her from her trip. She just got back from Arizona, and I figured she was just busy. But when her friend showed up, that's what it was like. It registered like, all right, this isn't right.
So you can really tell a lot of the times too, and I think that people know this, so they kind of try to stop it. But if you're saying something, like if somebody asks you a question and you're like, yeah, it wasn't right, you know, and you're kind of like saying something like yes, but shaking your head no, it means you're lying. It's your body's way of kind of betraying you. Your body's telling the truth even though your mouth's not.
Do you think she just took off? Do you think?
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. But I mean, could she just taken off? I don't know. But if somebody has her and they're not safe, like, I want them back now. Like that's what's in my head. Like, if they're safe right now, they're gonna come back. But if they're not safe right now, that's the not knowing part. Like, if they're not safe. Last night I had every light in the house on. I was hoping that I would just ran over by the kids running in the door and just like barrel rushing me, but it didn't happen. And it was just a traumatic night trying to be here.
I'm gonna ask some kind of tough questions. Your relationship with your kids.
My kids are my life. I mean, those smiles light up my life. And just like, I mean, last night, like during when they usually eat dinner, it was just like I missed them. Like, I mean, I missed telling them, hey, you got to eat that, or you're not going to get your dessert, and just like you're not going to get your snack after. I miss that. Like I miss them, cuddle up on their couches. They have like a Minnie Mouse couch and a Sophia couch that they cuddle up on and watch, Bubble Guppies or something. And it was just like, it was tearing me apart.
He's such a scumbag.
I needed that. I needed that last night.
And I really like how he's talking so much about how his kids not being at the house is hard for him. He needed that last night. He needed to see them last night. It was so hard to be at home and not have them there. And to me, like, you're a father whose kids are gone, vanished. Like you said, vanished. They're gone. You don't know where they are. They could be like dead right now. They could be in pain. They could be being tortured. You don't know. But what you're thinking about is how it was hard being at your house without them for you. So this is a sign not only of somebody who knows what happened to his kids, so he doesn't, have this fear of the unknown or the stress of wondering what's happening to them, but somebody who's selfish, narcissistic, turns every situation into them. It's the Chris Watts show. He is the victim here. He is the one who has to come home to an empty house and can't tell the kids to eat your food or you can't get your dessert. It's just, ugh.
For nobody to be here last night and to go into their rooms and know that I wasn't going to turn the rain machines on. I know that I wasn't going to turn their monitor on. I know I wasn't going to kiss them to bed tonight. That's why last night was just horrible. I couldn't do it. I want everybody to just come home. Like wherever they're at, come home. That's what I want.
Wherever they're at, come home. If somebody has them and they're not safe, I want them back. But if they are safe, I want them back. I just want them back. Like, it doesn't make any sense. The way that he talks about this is like, I think he put planning into it. I think he rehearsed and had a script of what he wanted to say. I think he's also kind of like on the spot right now, so he's kind of forgetting that stuff. So he's just kind of going over like their nighttime routine. They would eat dinner and then I would tell them to eat dinner, or they couldn't get their dessert and then they would watch Bubble Guppies on their couches, and then I'm not going to turn on their rain machine for them and I'm not going to kiss them goodnight. Like, to me, he's just trying to pull from the truth and facts, which is what they would do every night before going to bed, or what they would do every night in their regular routine in the household, so that he's not saying something that is either, shined on as a lie, or he's not messing up or stumbling over his words or kind of contradicting himself, right? So he's talking about their routine because it's something he knows. It's something he's familiar with. It's something he's comfortable with. It's something that's the truth. So he can say it without sounding like a liar.
Or did you guys get into an argument before she left?
It wasn't like an argument. We had an emotional conversation, but I'll leave it at that. But I just want them back. I just want them to come back.
Okay, so they said, did you have an argument before you left? And he said, it wasn't an argument, it was an emotional conversation, I'll leave it at that. And then he like switches the subject, like, let's not talk about, me and Shanann, like, I just want them back. He keeps going back to that, helpless father plea while he stands there holding himself so tightly, like his shoulders are hunched and rocking back and forth once again. The sign of somebody who's nervous, not scared, not distraught, nervous. The sign of somebody who's hiding something. A sign of somebody that doesn't want to be open and doesn't want something to get out, like the truth.
And if they're not safe right now, that's what's tearing me apart. Because if they are safe, they're coming back. But if they're not, this has got to stop. Like, somebody has to come forward.
And he's repeated this already. If they are safe, they're coming back. But what does this mean? Like, this is the second time he said it just in this interview. If they are safe, they're coming back. Like, he's just repeating the little tidbits and the little, like, scripts that he's given himself. And I think he forgot the majority of his script, you know, because he's nervous. I don't think he's ever been in a position like this before. He's nervous, but he keeps repeating just the parts that he does remember, which makes him just sound idiotic and insincere.
You spoken to her family, like her parents?
Yeah, they've been in constant contact, like every hour. I mean, everybody back in North Carolina and the East Coast. I mean, from Maine to Florida.
What is her parents saying to you? Like,
They're just like if they need to get on a flight, just let them know, because I mean, they feel helpless right now because they're on the opposite side of the country. I mean, Colorado is, I mean, you can't just drive around and look. I mean, it's just like you wouldn't really know what you're looking for. That's what the cops pretty much told me. That first.
I mean, this is somebody literally who's not speaking from the heart. This is somebody literally who has given himself a script, given himself a dialogue, and can't remember it. So he's stuttering and he's stammering and he's tripping over his words. He's not just like talking from the heart.
First day, I was like, I want to get out and drive around this. You won't know what to look for.
Last couple questions. What is law enforcement? What have the police or the sheriffs or your neighbors? What's police saying to you?
Right now, this is what they're doing right now is with the canines in the sense. I think this is the biggest thing. This is the biggest thing they've done so far, because yesterday Federal Police Department did all the searching of the house and tried to gather whatever information they could. And with the detectives, officers, and sergeants, and today it's, I mean, obviously with all the activity that's around, it's there's a lot going on around here.
Why is he so weird? Detectives, officers, sergeants, like what? Just say officers, you know, detectives, officers, sergeants. Once again, like, he doesn't know what to say, and he doesn't want to say something stupid. He doesn't want to say something that's going to make him look like a liar. He doesn't want to say something that's going to clearly, like, contradict anything he said before. So he's just rambling now. Detectives, officers, sergeants, like, what is that?
And I really hope that all of this can lead to something positive.
What did your neighbors, did they see anything? Did your neighbors see anything?
No, like the police department went door to door asking, like, cameras and everything, just like nothing.
And my last question, if you have any though, so feel free to step in. My last question is, if your wife can see this, if she can watch these, what would you like to tell your wife and your kids?
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
That's it. I can take that mic off you. I can take that mic off.
Okay, so I think it's really telling, and reporters do this a lot. So the reporter asks him, like, if you could talk to your wife right now, if you could say something, what would you say? And he kind of like just turns to the camera, and literally his effect does not change. His tone of voice does not change. He doesn't become emotional. He doesn't become sincere or genuine. He doesn't leave interview mode. Nothing changes. Not his expression, not his tone of voice, not the inflection, nothing. And then he kind of switches from talking to Shanann and Bella and Celeste to like talking to the person who took them. So he's trying to right now set this narrative that somebody took him, and all the while in the background, like these sniffer dogs are just barking, and I just see him like getting tenser and tenser every time they bark, and especially towards the end there, like they start barking like crazy, and he literally, you know, looks like he's gonna shit himself every time it happens. So I kind of enjoy that he's suffering there, and I do feel like there's some emotional, you know, sadness about the kids. Obviously, I don't think that I think he loved them in some way. I don't know, like that's the hard part. You know, I don't have a disturbed mind. I don't ever have a mind that could harm a child, much less my own. And so you can't really like get inside the head of somebody who would and figure out what they felt about that person or if they loved the person that they killed. I do sense a difference in the way he talks about Bella and Celeste than when he's talking about Shanann. I sense that there's, you know, He did look like he was almost kind of tearing up a little bit when he was talking about them, when they asked what their names were and he first started talking about them, but he did get himself under control quite quickly after that. Okay, so here's another interview. It's a little shorter.
Wherever they're at, like, I have no inclination to where they're at right now.
So he uses this word inclination. He uses it a lot. I have no inclination as to where they are. Now I have no idea. I don't know. I have no inclination. I think he is using words that he can remember, so he can remember what to say. So he says this word over and over again. It's just a strange word to use in not only this, you know, situation, but in general. Like, I have no inclination. I don't know. I don't have any idea where they are, or I don't know where they are. Like, I have no inclination. It's almost like he's not lying if he says that weird word.
Like, I've exhausted like every friend that I know of, and every friend that I have has called friends that Shanann has that maybe I didn't know about, and it's just like it's like it's vanished. Like, she's not, like, when I got home yesterday, it was like a ghost town.
Watch this part.
So I read that Shanann hadn't taken the girls to school, which was unusual.
Yeah, because like Bella was going to start kindergarten next Monday.
Bella was going to start kindergarten next Monday. Bella was going to start kindergarten next Monday. Not Bella is going to start kindergarten. So how does a man who doesn't know where his kids are or if they're alive or dead, how is he already referring to his daughter in the past tense as if she's gone? Bella was going to start kindergarten next Monday. Oh, he's disgusting. He's a disgusting person. He's a disgusting human being.
I'm just hoping right now that she's somewhere safe. And maybe she's there, but right now it's just like,
I'm hoping she's somewhere safe, and maybe she's there. He has no idea what he's talking about. Yo, he's whacked right now. Like, he's in his head freaking out because he has no idea what he's talking about, and he knows it. Like, I just hope if she's somewhere safe, you know, she's there. Like, he doesn't know what to say. He's afraid to really just go and talk because he doesn't want to say something stupid. He doesn't want to say something that's going to incriminate him. He doesn't want to say something that contradicts anything he's already said.
if she's vanished, like, I want her back.
If she's vanished, I want her back. He keeps saying, like, if she's gone, if someone took her, if she's vanished, I want her back. Like, it's just a weird way to discuss somebody who's missing. Like, if she's vanished, I want her back. If she's safe, they'll be back. If she's not safe, I want her back. Like,
Your friends were telling us, and we kind of heard you a little on the phone. You're also, your second thought is that you're afraid people think you may have done something.
Yeah, I mean, nothing. Everybody's gonna have their own opinion on anything like this. I just want them people to know that I want my family back. Like,
so he basically, the reporter asks him, like, you know, are you worried that people are gonna think you had something to do with this? And he literally, like, trips over his words, like, does this weird smile thing, like, blah, 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 like this Bugs Bunny kind of impression, and it's just super awkward and telling.
I want them safe, and I want them here. Like, this house
Repeats, like, whoever thinks that, I just want them to know I want my family back. I want them safe. I want them here. Like, that's not addressing what this guy just said, which is, how do you feel about that people might think you had something to do with this? Like, I want them safe. I want them back. I want them here. Like, he's so annoying with how repetitive he is in these interviews and how insincere and disingenuous he is.
not the same. I mean, last night was traumatic. Last night was, I can't really stay in this house again, like, with nobody here. And
Last night was traumatic. It's not the same. I can't stay in this house with nobody here. You just did for 6 weeks. You just did for 6 weeks.
if they're safe or if they're in trouble. Like, there's just that variable, like, I'm not sure. I mean, I can't do anything right now from where I'm at. Like, I'm not sure if they're safe somewhere, just huddled up somewhere, or...
So see what he says, I don't know if they're safe somewhere, just huddled up somewhere. What a weird thing to say, huddled up somewhere, like maybe in an oil tank that you put them in, huddled up in the oil tank that you just, you know, threw your daughter's bodies into like they were trash. Huddled up somewhere, like, he interviews.
They could be in trouble. It's just earth-shattering right now, and it doesn't feel like it's real.
Earth shattered.
The weird part of all this, it sounds like everything's kind of locked up. There's no signs of them leaving the house.
No.
period.
like we have camera there, neighbor has a camera. I mean, everything's checked out.
Do you have a camera, you said?
The doorbell, only right there.
He's freaking out right now.
So Celeste, she's just a ball of energy. She's call her Rampage because she's just always, she's got two speeds, go or she's sleeping. And she's always a troublemaker. She's always the one like jumping off things, just yelling at you and all kinds of things. And Bella, she's the more calm, cautious, mothering type. And she's more like me. She's more calm. Celeste is.
He says Bella's more like me, she's more calm, and then he does this really awkward, like creepy laugh, which
Definitely got her mom's personality to where she's always just gung-ho, ready to go.
You guys have a baby on the way.
Mm-hmm.
How you're about to have a third child.
Mm-hmm.
Is that kind of going through your mind right now too?
That's why I want everybody back.
they ask him these hard questions that he doesn't have a true emotional response for, like, how do you feel that your wife's pregnant? You have a baby on the way. Like, does that worry you? How are you feeling about that? I just want them back. I just want them back. Like, if he doesn't have an actual emotional response to pull from to answer a question, he repeats things he's already said that he feels safe repeating. Pretty much, I can't do this anymore. I can't like look at his stupid face and listen to his stupid voice any longer. So basically, he's lying, and I wanted to talk about those interviews not only because obviously we know that he confessed to killing Shanann. So we know at this point he's lying about everything that was in those interviews, but I wanted to show you like how easily he made the decision to lie. He didn't come clean. So you killed your wife because she killed your daughters. A normal person with a normal conscience would at that point realize like, oh my God, not only did I just kill my wife, I killed my unborn, son, and my daughters are dead. They would either kill themselves or confess and explain what happened and take like the jail time or whatever was to come, take whatever consequences there were, but he tries to get out of it. He tries to hide. He takes his wife's body when she's pregnant with his son, dumps her in a shallow grave, takes his two baby girls, puts them into oil and oil vats. If you cared about your children, if you were so devastated they were killed by your wife, you wouldn't hide them in oil vats. Even if you were trying to hide the murder, I feel like he would have at least given them a proper burial, like said some words, had a place where he could bring flowers or come back and sit and talk to them and visit, not throw them in a vat of oil. And he did that, I think, to decrease the opportunity of DNA being found on them. So there's so much we could talk about with this. We could talk about why he is the way he is. I would really like to talk for a lot longer about why this one YouTube channel is continuing to try to make Shanann look like a horrible person. Like, she was not a horrible person. She loved those girls, and I truly believe that she loved Chris so much. She did nothing but talk well about him. Like, was she dismissive with him in some videos? Yes, whatever. I'm like that with my husband. When we're busy, we have a career and we got kids running around and we have a million things. Like, sometimes we can be cold and dismissive to the people closest to us. We're all guilty of that. And anybody sitting on these YouTube comments talking shit about her and what she's doing or how she's treating her kids or how she's treating her husband, like, please, I would love to put a camera in your house and see how perfect and kind and sweet you are to everybody in your home at all times. Like, just stop it. Chris killed those little girls. Chris killed his wife, and he did it not because of any other reason or there's no logical reason. Like, nothing that they could have ever done, nothing would make them deserve what happened to them, especially those little girls being murdered by their father, who they trusted and loved and cared for and looked up to so much. It's devastating. I can't even imagine their last moments. And nothing that they could have done would have warranted or deserved that. And I don't even know. I lost my train of thought because I'm so upset. I think this YouTube page is literally set in motion to make her look bad because the trial hasn't happened yet. And this YouTube page wants to start, kind of coloring the opinion of Shanann in the public, because the public is going to be what? Next month, a jury. So they are trying to put out all this information about Shanann that looks bad for her to change or color the opinion of a potential jury pool. I honestly think, and this is my opinion, so don't come for me, I can't be sued for this, it's my opinion. I honestly think it's somebody on his defense team or somebody close to him who's trying to help him get off. But he is not getting off. I swear I'll be damned. Like, I already had to stand there and watch Casey Anthony walk. I will be damned if this man gets away with this. He's not going to. There's papers out there and there's like tabloids who say that he could. There's no way. He still killed his wife. He still killed his unborn, child. Even if Bella and Celeste don't get justice and he doesn't get pinned for their murders, he still is going to jail for a long time, and hopefully will get the death penalty, because that is what he deserves. He never deserved the love that Shanann had for him. He never deserved the love that Bella and Celeste had for him. He's a selfish, narcissistic, horrible person who's insecure and has low self-esteem and has low self-worth. And somebody gave him a chance, and somebody tried to give him worth and give him a purpose, and he murdered her and murdered everything they created together. I'm going to keep you guys updated on what's going on with his case and with his trial. And as new things kind of arise, I'll let you know. As of now, they're kind of just getting all the facts together. Chris and his defense team are trying to suppress a bunch of stuff in the press that people are saying about him. He doesn't like it. And I guess a lot of it comes from People Magazine. Like, People Magazine has been saying things, I guess, that he was like emotionless, or stupid little things that he's trying to get suppressed. But not trying to get suppressed the fact that he's had an affair, and that allegedly he had like a 10-month affair with another man, which I don't know is true or false, but that came out. A man came out and said that they'd had a relationship for 10 months. Unless I speak to this man, unless I kind of am able to gauge for myself whether he's being honest or, making it up for attention, I can't say whether it's true or not. Do I believe it? Sure. This Chris Watts, he's insane. He's a psychopath. He's a terribly selfish, disgusting person who should have never been allowed to be a parent. But I don't know if it's true or not, so I don't really want to shine too much of a light on it. But he didn't have a problem with the magazines or the tabloids talking about that. I guess the DNA evidence from Shanann and the girls' necks have been run, and they have that information, but the state and the attorneys who are prosecuting Chris, they don't want that made public right now. And a lot of people have been saying that means, there's something in there that implicates Shanann, or that it means there's something in there that could make him look not guilty. But I don't think that's the case at all. I think that they have exactly what they need to fry his ass, and I think they don't want anything to touch it. I think they don't want anything to go out in the public yet to become basically like twisted and turned around, and they don't really want Chris and the defense team to have it yet, because they don't want him to be able to formulate like an answer to it at this point, or to come up with some other crazy story like he did with the Shanann killed the kids story that he just fabricated and came up with to make himself look better and to get out of trouble. I think they really just want to kind of hold on to everything, keep it safe, keep it ready, and then drop that bomb on him during the trial. So they're obviously going to have to give it to the defense team in discovery, because they have to have that evidence, but they don't have to give it to them at this moment, so they're not. They're trying to keep control and keep the ball in their court, and I don't think it at all means that Shanann was implicated by that DNA evidence, or that Chris was not implicated by that DNA evidence. Thank you guys so much for being here. Please let me know if you have any questions. Please stay with me as we kind of like keep going through this trial. I cannot wait to see this guy either locked up for life or on death row. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but as I get updates on the case, or as there's more opinions that I have on the case. And I will see you guys next time. Stay kind and stay beautiful. Mwah. Bye.
Boy, play, girls, win.
You're so smart.
My turn.
What's yours say, Cece? Diva,
Diva,
princess,
princess,
mini boss,
Nicholas,
rock star,
star,
multitask.
dinosaur.
Good job.
Another smile I'll fake, playing along, playing along. I fall asleep when I wake up, and in my dreams I'll be pain in the world, pain in the world. A world I built with immense care, a parallel universe where the thought of boredom is too abstract, a contrast to the trivial, when every day seemed to feel like a stage scene in a photograph. But these pictures come to life when they're portraying you. If these pictures come to life, dreams make their way into reality. I used to wish for a plane to come and take me away into the clouds, into the clouds, longing to make my escape. I was afraid I'd stay still on the ground, still on the ground. You say paint over the gray sky when every day seemed to feel like a stage scene in a photograph.